Yes, good morning to all who have joined me in the live this morning where we're going to be reading the Bible. And let me get my setup right. For those who are able to share out the live stream on your social media or with a friend, please feel free to do so at this time, which is what I'm doing right now, sharing it out on my Facebook page. If you haven't had a chance to check out my Facebook fan page, you can go over there and like it. And there are other material and content that I post on Facebook. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is where I'm about to share it right now. Sharing it out to my Twitter feed, which from time to time I tweet my thoughts or tweet something that's going on with me there. Oh boy, gonna have to turn off the notifications because it says gospel for you is now following. Okay, so maybe gospel for you just got the tweet that I put out. Welcome gospel for you if you're able to join me, but I do need to turn off the notifications on my phone. But yes, I'm sharing this out on my Twitter feed. I'm sharing this out on my Facebook Live, not my Facebook Live, my Facebook page. I don't know. Maybe one day I will do this as a live on Facebook, but for right now, YouTube is good enough for me. Let's see. Let me share it on a couple of more places, and then we're going to get started. We are still in the book of Genesis, and I'm going to be reading from the Bible because that's part of my New Year's resolution. I want to read the Bible every day, and I want to get to know what's in the Bible. I want to understand what's in the Bible. I want to understand what it means to be a Christian and what it means to be a follower of Jesus, because that's what it's all about. That's what this whole label of Christian is. You believe in the Bible, you follow the Bible to the best of your abilities, and that is your guide for living this life that we have here in this world. So yeah, I've been claiming Christian for a while now, but I'm a backslider. I'm a backslider, and I just try to do my best. But can you really say that you're doing your best if you're not like following the instructions? That's a rhetorical question. Can you really do your best at something if you're not following the instructions that come along with whatever that is that you're trying to do? All right, get to my OBS screen so I can see myself, and let's fire it up. Good morning. This is another day without makeup. Ooh, there goes that New Year's resolution. But this one I want to stick. This one is more important than the makeup. So, excuse the blank face, the blank canvas. But yeah, that's I'm working on it, you guys. I'm working on it little by little. Today we are in Genesis. We're going to be doing just the 2 chapters here. Oh, hold on. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Oh no, that's 5. That's 5 chapters. Okay, so today we are doing the 5 chapters of Genesis 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. Let me get to my OBS screen. Okay, so I can see myself here. And let me get my little live screen up so I can see y'all in the chat room. Welcome, welcome. Please leave a thumbs up when you come in. It helps me out and helps YouTube know what a fine job I'm doing. And yes, let's get started with the recap real quick. The recap was yesterday was 44, was it? Let me see. Yesterday was 43 through 45. So 43, 44, 45. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can look at the other live streams and see where we're at. All I know is I'm reading the book. I'm reading the Bible per the guide. Oh, let me give you guys a screen share real quick. I'm reading the book per the guide of Diane Stewart's Man, I got this window all jacked up today. It's like stuff is just not laid out properly. Okay, let me give you a quick screen share. So this is the guide, you guys. A woman's guide to reading the Bible in a year, life-changing journey into the heart of God. We are in week 3. The overarching storyline is the news of a new kingdom. And the checkpoints are a forgiving ruler. That would be Joseph. Jesus in Judah's blessing. We haven't got to that part yet. Come tomorrow. We're actually going to be in the New Testament. Royal family tree, a narrow gate, miracles on land and sea. And for those of you who are interested in getting this book, the link is in the description of the live stream. And this is what it looks like if you want to pick it up while you're out at your local bookstore. But yeah, this is the guide to reading the Bible in a year. And this is the guide for life. This is the guide for life. If you are a Christian and that is the path that you are following, this is your guide for that. And this is the New Believers Bible, compact version, very easy read. And yeah, I like this. I like this version here. All right, let me get back to my live chat so I can make sure I don't miss anybody coming in. Good morning to all who are coming in. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your patience as I sometimes struggle through getting through everything. Okay, so the recap is the recap from yesterday. Let's see. Joseph's brothers went to Egypt. These are the brothers that sold him into slavery because he was daddy's favorite, and they didn't like that. Plus, he had these dreams that predicted them bowing down to him, which they didn't like, which of course came out to be true. They wanted to kill him. They didn't kill him. They sold him off into slavery instead. Joseph goes through trials and tribulations in Egypt, through Potiphar, and through the prison, and he finally makes his way out, becomes a great man. And here we go. Joseph's brothers go to Egypt. He meets his brothers. He puts them through tests to see if their character has changed. And the brothers go back home, get their youngest brother Benjamin, come back to Egypt. There's the whole game of him putting the money back in their sacks after they paid for the grain. They go home and find it. Oh no, we've got to pay this back. Then they come back. Joseph plays the game with them again and puts his silver cup in their sack to test to see if they will do the right thing when they're caught with it. And so they leave out. And they leave out with their grain that they've paid for again, and then they are chased down and caught with this silver cup, which is Joseph's cup. And Joseph says, whoever has stolen my cup, that person will be my slave or will die. I can't remember which one. And, the brothers have had a change of heart, even though now Benjamin is now the youngest and the daddy's favorite. Instead of, throwing him up under the bus, they said, no, take us instead, because if anything was to happen to this youngest, it would kill our father. So they have had a change of heart. And of course, Joseph breaks down and cries because one, he's missed his brothers, and he sees that they have a change of heart. And he's like, you know what, don't even worry about what you guys did to me, because if you guys hadn't put me here, we would have all have perished because of this famine. So y'all, what y'all have done to me put me in the perfect spot to help us out later on down the line. So now we pick up at, where am I at now? Chapter 46. That was, let's see, Judah speaks for his brothers. Joseph reveals his identity. And yeah, here we go. In chapter 46, starting today, Jacob's journey to Egypt. So, Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions. Jacob. Yes, old Jacob. Old father Jacob. Jacob, the brothers have gone back and said, Dad, remember Joseph? And you thought that he was dead because we brought back the animal thing? Well, this is what really happened. He has become a great ruler in Egypt, and he's helping us out, and he wants us to move there. So that's that little piece here. So now, old father Jacob. So Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions. And when he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. During the night, God spoke to him in a vision. Jacob, Jacob, he called. "Here I am," Jacob replied. I just think that's so awesome that God is speaking to these people audibly. "I am God, the God of your father," the voice said. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make your family into a great nation. I will go with you down to Egypt, and I will bring you back again. You will die in Egypt, but Joseph will be with you to close your eyes." Wow, that's a comforting thought. When you die, your son, your beloved son, your favorite one, will be there to basically be the last thing that you see. So Jacob left Beersheba, and his sons took him to Egypt. They carried him and their little ones and their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had provided for them. See, remember, Pharaoh, the whole land of Egypt was saved because of Joseph's wisdom and his dream interpretation that he always gave credit to God for. And if it wasn't for Joseph, Egypt would have went down badly because of that famine. But Pharaoh paid him back in a positive way, saying, "Oh, these are your brothers. This is your family. They don't have to walk back here. Take my wagons. Let them ride on out. Let them ride on back." So Jacob left Beersheba, and his sons took him to Egypt. They carried him and their little ones and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had provided for them. They also took all their livestock and all the personal belongings they had acquired in the land of Canaan. So Jacob and his entire family went to Egypt, sons and grandsons, daughters and granddaughters, and all his descendants. These are the names of the descendants of Israel, the sons of Jacob, who went to Egypt. Y'all ready? Here we go. Reuben, y'all remember Reuben? He was the one that said, "Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery." Reuben was Jacob's eldest son. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul. Shaul's mother was a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. Though and Onan had died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puah, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun were Sered, Elon, and Jalil. These were the sons of Leah and Jacob, who were born in Padam Aram, in addition to their daughter Dinah. The number of Jacob's descendants, male and female, through Leah was 33. Isn't that supposed to be a special number? The sons of Gad were Zephon, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Sarah. Beriah's sons were Heber and Malkiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, the servant given to Leah by her father Laban. The number of Jacob's descendants through Zilpah was 16. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph's sons, born in the land of Egypt, were Manasseh and Ephraim. Their mother was Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, the priest of On. Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Ard. These were the sons of Rachel and Jacob. The number of Jacob's descendants through Rachel was 14. The son of Dan was Hushim. The sons of Naphtali were Jazil, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem. These were the sons of Bilhah, the servant given to Rachel by her father Laban. The number of Jacob's descendants through Bilhah was 7. The total number of Jacob's direct descendants who went with him to Egypt, not counting his sons' wives, was 66. In addition, Joseph had 2 sons who were born in Egypt. So altogether, there were 70 members of Jacob's family in the land of Egypt. Now we're going to talk about Jacob's family arrives in Goshen. As they neared their destination, Jacob sent Judah ahead to meet Joseph and get directions to the region of Goshen. And when they finally arrived there, Joseph prepared his chariot and traveled to Goshen to meet his father, Jacob. When Joseph arrived, he embraced his father and wept, holding him for a long time. "Finally," Jacob said to Joseph, "now I am ready to die, since I have seen your face again and know that you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's entire family, I will go till Pharaoh and tell him, my brothers and my family and my father's entire family have come to me from the land of Canaan. These men are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and herds and everything they own. Then he said, when Pharaoh calls for you and asks you about your occupation, you must tell him, we, your servants, have raised livestock all our lives, as our ancestors have always done. When you tell him this, he will let you live here in the region of Goshen, for the Egyptians despise shepherds. Why? Why? Chapter 47. Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, my father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen. Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, what is your occupation? They replied, we, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there, so please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, now that your father and your brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too. Nice. Nice. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. How old are you? Pharaoh asked. Jacob replied, I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors. Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramesses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Now we're going to talk about Joseph's leadership in the famine. We're still in chapter 47, picking up at verse 13. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the land of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. Our money is gone, they cried. Please give us food or we will die before your very eyes. Joseph replied, since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock. So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, we cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, look, today I have bought you your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seeds so you can plant the fields. Then when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you, your households, and your little ones. You have saved our lives, they exclaimed. May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants. Joseph then issued a decree, still in effect in the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt, so he lived 147 years in all. And as the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please, do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." What's up with this hand under the thigh thing? Who else did that? A couple chapters ago. To the servant that was to make Isaac's go find Isaac's wife. Who was Isaac's dad? Abraham. I'm sorry. The more that I'm reading all these names, I get them confused. But Abraham said the same thing to his servant: "Put your hand under my thigh and make this promise to me. Make this this covenant. Do not find a wife for my son here in this land. Go out to my ancestors' land and promise me you'll find him a wife there." What's up with the hand under the thigh? If you guys know the significance of that, please let me know either now in the chat or later on in the replay in the comment section. I want to know what is that. But yes, they on his deathbed, this is what Jacob was asking of Joseph. So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask." "Swear that you will do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. There's a little star next to there. I want to see if that means anything significant. The Greek version reads, "And Israel bowed in worship as he leaned on his staff." Let's see where we're at. Okay. So now we're at chapter 48. Welcome to anyone who has popped into the live. I appreciate you checking in with me. We are in the book of Genesis, chapter 48, and we're going to go to 50, which actually we're going to complete the book of Genesis today. So let's see, chapter 48. Jacob blesses Manasseh and Ephraim. One day, not long after this, the word came to Joseph: "Your father is failing rapidly." So Joseph went to visit his father, and he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to see you." So Jacob gathered up his strength and sat on his bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said to me, I will make you fruitful, and I will multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations, and I will give this land of Canaan to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. Now I am claiming as my own sons these two boys of yours, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived. They will be my sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit land within territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh." What? So Granddaddy Jacob wants to adopt Joseph's sons Manasseh and Ephraim? Why? "They will be my sons just as Reuben and Simeon are, but any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit land within the territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh." Ah, okay. "Long ago, as I was returning from Padan Aram, Rachel died in the land of Canaan. We were still on the way some distance from Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. So with great sorrow I buried her there beside the road of Ephrath." Then Jacob looked over at his two boys. "Are these your sons?" he asked. "Yes," Joseph told him. "These are my sons that God has given me here in Egypt." And Jacob said, "Bring them closer to me so I can bless them." Jacob was half blind because of his age and could hardly see, so Joseph brought the boys close to him, and Jacob kissed and embraced them. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "I never thought I would see your face again, but now God has let me see your children too." Joseph moved the boys, who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand, he directed Ephraim toward Jacob's left arm. With his right hand, he directed Ephraim toward Jacob's left arm, and with his left hand, he put Manasseh at Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hands on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "Why is there always this slight bit of trickery? Why is this always this slight bit of trickery?" So the right hand is the blessing hand. Is that what you guys are getting from this? He's putting one hand out to bless one son, which should be the oldest, and he's putting one hand out to bless the other, which should be the youngest. But Jacob, knowing that whoever is touched by this hand will get the most blessing, he switches the boys. Why is this? I'm curious as to know why. Okay, let me read that part over just to make sure I'm clear. Jacob blesses, this is chapter 48. Jacob blesses Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph moved the boys who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand, he directed Ephraim toward Jacob's left hand. And with his left hand, he put Manasseh at Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hands on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "May the God before whom my grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this very day, the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they preserve my name and the names of Abraham and Isaac, and may their descendants multiply greatly throughout the earth." But Joseph was upset when he saw that his father placed his right hand on Ephraim's head. So Joseph lifted it to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. "No, my father," he said, "this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused. "I know, my son, I know." He replied, "Manasseh will also become great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations." Ah, okay. I thought it was Joseph doing the crisscross. So why did he bless the younger son? Let me read that again. His father refused. "I know, my son, I know. Manasseh will also become a great people." "No, my father," he said, "this one is the firstborn." Manasseh is the firstborn, right? And then Ephraim is the second. "Manasseh will also become a great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations." So Jacob blessed the boys that day with this blessing. "The people of Israel will use your names when they give a blessing. They will say, 'May God make you as prosperous as Ephraim and Manasseh.'" In this way, Jacob put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Look, I am about to die, but God will be with you. But God will be with you and will take you back to Canaan, the land of your ancestors, and beyond what I have given your brothers. I'm giving you an extra portion of my land that I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow." Chapter 49. Jacob's last words to his sons. Then Jacob called together all his sons and said, "Gather around me, and I will tell you what will happen to each of you in the days to come. Come and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, the child of my vigorous youth. You are first in rank and first in power." Anyone who's coming into the live stream, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up in the live. Let YouTube know what a good job I'm doing. Even if you can only stay for a moment, thumbs up the live. I appreciate it. "Reuben, you're my firstborn, my strength, the child of my vigorous youth. You are first in rank and first in power. But you are as unruly as a flood, and you will be first no longer, for you went to bed with my wife. You defiled my marriage couch." Oh. "Simeon and Levi are two of a kind. Their weapons are instruments of violence. May I never join in their meetings. May I never be a party to their plans, for in their anger they murdered men, and they crippled oxen just for sport. A curse on their anger, for it is fierce." Ah, remember what happened to Dinah? A curse on their wrath, for it is cruel. "I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob. I will disperse them throughout Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. You will grasp your enemies by the neck. All your relatives will bow before you. Judah, my son, is a young lion that has finished eating its prey. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from his descendants, until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. He ties his foal to a grapevine, the colt of his donkey to a choice vine. He washes his clothes in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. Zebulun will settle by the seashore, and will be a harbor for ships. His borders will extend to Sidon. Issachar is a sturdy donkey, resting between two saddle packs. When he sees how good the countryside is and how pleasant the land, he will bend his shoulders to load and submit himself to hard labor. Dan will govern his people like any other tribe in Israel. Dan will be a snake beside the road, a poisonous viper along the path that bites the horse's hooves so its rider is thrown off. I trust in you for salvation, O Lord. Gad will be attacked by marauding bands. Gee whiz. Who wants to hear this on somebody's deathbed? But I digress. Man, I would not want to hear this type of stuff unless I was one of the sons who heard all the good fortune. Gad will be attacked by marauding bands, but he will attack them when they retreat. Asher will dine on rich foods and produce food fit for kings. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is the foal of a wild donkey. The foal of a wild donkey at spring, one of the wild donkeys on the ridge. Archers attack him savagely. They shot at him and harassed him, but his bow remained taut, and his arms were strengthened by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob, by the shepherd, the rock of Israel. May the God of your father help you. May the Almighty bless you with the blessings of heavens above and blessings of watery depths below, and blessings of the breast and womb. May the blessings of your father surpass the blessings of the ancient mountains, reaching to the heights of the eternal hills. May these blessings rest on the heads of Joseph, who was a prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. This is the youngest, remember? Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, devouring his enemies in the morning and dividing his plunder in the evening. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said. He told his sons goodbye. He blessed each one with an appropriate message. And now, Jacob's death and burial. Then Jacob instructed them, soon I will die and join my ancestors. Excuse me. Bury me with my father and grandfather in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite. This is the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre in Canaan, that Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite as a permanent burial site. There, Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried. There, Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried. And there, I buried Leah. It is the plot of land, the cave that my grandfather Abraham bought from the Hittites. When Jacob had finished his charge to his sons, he drew his feet into his bed, breathed his last, and joined his ancestors in death. We're going to finish up with chapter 50 here. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days. Yes. We're heading out. I'm in my last part of the reading. We're heading out in just a moment. Sorry for the interruption. Then Joseph told the physician who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. Now, as far as I know, there had been no talk of embalming before, so it seems like this is an Egyptian culture that Joseph has picked up. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay.'" Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of the Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad. Threshing means, when they're doing the wheat, separating the wheat. to make grain. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." Let me read, see, Abel Mizraim. There's a star next to there, but I don't see anything at the bottom. Okay. So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded them. They carried the body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. And now we're going to talk about Joseph reassures his brothers. After burying Jacob, this is chapter 50:14 now. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. "Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. So they sent this message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they have done to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of the God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin.'" When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. "Look, we are your slaves," they said. But Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for all good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children." So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. And now, the death of Joseph. Verse 22 of chapter 50. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. "Soon I will die," Joseph told his brothers, "but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, "When God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you." So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Oh, there's a little star right here. So in verse 50:11, when they said, we're going to call this place Abel Mizraim, it says here, Abel Mizraim means mourning of the Egyptians. And there's another star here for verse 50:23. When I read, he lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, who he claimed as his own. It says here, in Hebrew, all of those who were born on Joseph's knees. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, "When God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you." So Joseph died, and at the age of 110, the Egyptians embalmed him and placed his body in a coffin in Egypt. That concludes the book of Genesis, as I'm reading here from the New Believer's Bible. That concludes Genesis. Tomorrow, I think we start in the New Testament, Matthew. Thank you for your time in this live chat, and for all of those who are taking time to play the replay. Don't forget your thumbs up when you do run the replay, and I will see you all in tomorrow's reading as we start. Let me run over to the table of contents. As we start tomorrow, week 3, we'll be reading through Matthew 1-3. Thank you so much for joining me as we're reading the Bible here on 40 Entrepreneur Drive. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next reading here on Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Entrepreneur Drive 40, Entrepreneur Drive. Thanks for watching, share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow me on social media.